everything is working okay, because YouTube is having issue with me setting this whole thing up. So let me know that we're good. I will tell you right now, this will be a short one. I know I say that every time, but I actually mean it this time. This will be a shorter live stream. I'm trying to keep this thing from vibrating as much as it does. I know that the visual of it gets a little wonky. Not really anything crazy I want to talk about. Just FYI, the title of this literally says I don't want to do this, and it's not this video. It's what I have to do in an hour and a half. I do not want to go to the dentist, so I'm using this time to take my mind off of it. So BA Technologies 5x5, thank you for letting me know. I literally am just taking my mind off of the dentist right now, because as much as I am a grown-ass woman, I am still scared and I don't want to do it. So it is what it is. But anyway, so we're going to talk about some random stuff. Okay, number one, for those of you who have cable and you hate the cost of cable, so you're thinking about going to like streaming services and stuff, this is what we did. We got rid of cable because cable plus the internet was like a ridiculous amount of money every single month. So we got rid of cable. Internet's still expensive, right? But then we added, this is what we have. We have Disney Plus, we have Hulu, we have Paramount, we have HBO Max, we have, what else do we have? Amazon Prime. So we have at least 5 different things, right? Well, Disney Plus, because they are this massive conglomerate, has bought out everybody, I swear. They now own, I believe, HBO Max. They own Hulu. They have ESPN. They own Fox News. They own ABC. They own all these different things. And now Hulu and Disney Plus is basically phasing out Hulu. Just so everybody knows, in case you were curious how this works, if you happen to have only Hulu, you're not going to be able to have it in the future because of the way Disney Plus is doing this. Because I saw this earlier, so I pulled it up just to kind of see what was going on. And it says Hulu is officially ending as Disney reveals new streaming plan. And somebody commented, this is why I thought it was funny. Somebody said, not surprised. I figured streaming services would eventually start merging together. Soon it'll be the new cable TV, which is basically what it is, because everybody owns everybody. I know Trump just let Paramount, somebody buy Paramount or Paramount buy somebody. So everything is moving into one. The next thing you know, you can either have cable or you can have all of your streaming sites bundled. Now, what is absolutely ridiculous to me is that you pay for all these streaming sites, however much you're paying per month. And then like Amazon Prime is like, oh, you can't watch this movie unless you want to pay another $3.99, $5, $7. And it's like, well, why am I paying you a monthly fee if I still have to rent something over here? And they do it because they want you to go be subscribed to Stars or Paramount or whatever else. It's just a whole entire money grab on all of it. Every single little bit of it is a money grab. But then I was curious if like Hulu is like legitimately going away. And basically what it comes down to is that Disney Plus is making it so the Hulu app will no longer work. You have to basically be part of Disney Plus. It's absorbing it. So Disney's not completely phasing out Hulu, but it's integrating it into Disney Plus by 2026. I know a lot of people that will not get Disney Plus because of what Disney has done over the past however many years, right? But you like Hulu. Well, if you want Hulu, now you have to either go to the dark side of Disney Plus, which I had it for our daughter because she used to like watching certain shows over there. Now it's for the movies, and because of Hulu. But you have to be willing to either have Disney Plus or not have any of the stuff at all. And for some people, it's an easy decision for some. They're going to do absolutely nothing. They go, you know what, F it, I'm just going to stare at the wall all day and not watch anything. Other people, like myself, I'm going to have Disney Plus because I want the ESPN, because I want the Hulu movies, because I want other different things. And it's a want over need. Obviously, I don't need it. Nobody needs it, but I still want it, so it is what it is. But like Only Murders in the Building, it's a really stupid show, but I absolutely love it. It's on Hulu. It's got Steve Martin and Martin Short, who's, you know, kind of whatever, and Selena Gomez, who whatever. But I like Steve Martin. I think he's hilarious from back in the day. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and The Jerk is probably one of my all-time favorite movies. I think he's hilarious. Father of the Bride. So I watch this show. Well, this show is on Hulu. In order to watch it now, I have to have Disney Plus. It's a whole thing, and it absolutely sucks. But they are saying that Disney clarified, just so everybody knows, the standalone Hulu subscriptions will still be available until the end of 2025. So that's just an FYI for y'all. I saw it. I figure most people aren't going to talk about that, so I figured I would just give you a little bit of the information in case you were curious. Another thing that I saw, which I thought was very interesting, you guys have heard of AlphaGal, right? I know you have. So AlphaGal is the whole you get bitten by some tick who happens to have this whatever, and the next thing you know, if you eat red meat or some dairy or things like that, it makes you like ridiculously sick, right? So I saw this headline, and the way the headline read made it seem like everybody out there was suddenly becoming allergic to red meat and dairy. That's how the headline read. And I'm like, all right, well, if that was the case, it's because of all the shit they're feeding the animals and all the stuff they're putting in the dairy. Like, that makes sense for you over time to suddenly become allergic to stuff. It's because they're putting so much crap inside the good stuff we're eating. It's very hard to find a grass-fed, grass-finished piece of steak, right? Like, or beef in general. It's very hard. Normally you get grass-fed, but then they sell it to whoever the butcher is, and then they grain finish it. Well, if grains bother you, you're pretty much, you know, up a creek with what you're buying. But you go to the grocery store and they put grass-fed and all these big beautiful letters all over the packaging, and so you think it's going to be great. You get home, you eat it, you feel like shit, and you can't figure out why, whatever else. So then you're like, all right, well, no more beef, I'll just move over to chicken. Well, chicken, well, what about the mRNA that they're putting in chicken? What about what they're doing to the eggs? Like, all these different things. So when I see this headline that says so many more people across the world are getting sick from red meat and are not able to eat it, and dairy, I'm like, all right, what's the kicker here? Like, what's it going to be? So then I open the article, right, and it says a red meat allergy from tick bites is spreading, and the Lone Star tick is the only alpha-gal carrier to worry about. And then it starts telling you about all these ticks and how people are getting bitten by these ticks and not realizing it, and the next thing they know, they can't eat these things. And my brain, because this is how my brain works, the very first thing my brain said is, oh, they're going to make a new tick vaccine or something absolutely retarded like that. They're going to make it so that if you just take this drug and you get bit by this tick, you'll be fine. You'll still be able to eat the beef. That's what I'm thinking here. I also think that a lot of times they do these things on purpose because they keep pushing the don't eat meat. They keep pushing the veganism, the vegetarianism. They keep pushing the fake meats, Bill Gates and stuff like that. So if now you convince people that if they eat beef or have dairy that they're going to get sick, people will just automatically start staying away from it out of fear that they're going to get something and get sick and whatever else, and they're more likely to go over to this lab grown bullshit that is being pushed, right? Sorry, I saw this thing come in from Freedom. What did it say? Freedom said it's done intentionally so that you have to pay for the big package, sorry, to watch what you want, but at the same time, a lot of junk that you never watch. It's all a scam, cable TV ripoff. 100%. That's exactly what it is. I know we're back over to the streaming services right now, but I sat on my couch last night for 30 minutes and scrolled through every freaking thing possible to find something to watch. And it's like, well, I've seen this 100 times. I've seen that 100 times. That looks woke as shit. Not going to watch that. That's gay. I don't want to watch that. I don't give a shit about that. And so at the end of it, I settled on YouTube watching Daily Dose of Internet. That's what my daughter and I end up watching. Before that, I settled on The Burbs with Tom Hanks because it was an old movie and I like it. Before that, I settled on War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise because I like that movie, because I like Dakota Fanning. I think that's her name, the little girl in it. Before that, we watched Man on Fire with Denzel Washington and her. And it's like, I don't watch a lot of the new stuff because a lot of the new stuff is a little too in your face with what they're pushing in terms of things that I don't 100% align with, right? So I watch a lot of older movies and whatnot. But Freedom, back to where we were, over to the alpha gal syndrome is what they're calling it, which is a red meat allergy. That's what they say. It will soon come down to, maybe not soon, I think it'll take time to really truly convince people to do stuff like this, but it'll be one of those things where if you want to be able to eat meat in general, make sure you take this medicine, this shot, this whatever, in order to be safe from whatever's in your foods, as opposed to just make our foods safe. I feel like that makes way more sense than anything else, right? Just make our food safe, and then we don't have to worry about it. You want to tell me it's because of a tick, but how did the tick get that? Like, you didn't hear about alpha gal 50 years ago. At least I didn't, and I could be wrong. Again, I'm only 43, so there's that. But I don't remember people talking about it like way back. I've heard people talk about it over the last 10, 15, 20 years, but not before that. Most people who said they know of alpha gal have heard of it. It generally stops just within the last decade or two and not before that. So Eileen says you've had it for 10 years. But my question is, Do you really? Not you saying, you know, whatever, but like, are we all being diagnosed with things that aren't legit? Like, I refuse to go anywhere and have somebody tell me I have ADHD. No, I don't. I have a brain that works faster than my mouth, and sometimes it works so fast that it flies off the track. I don't have ADHD. I can fully do numerous things at once and be perfectly fine, but everybody wants to label everything, because once there's a label, guess what else comes behind it? A drug for it, right? So you get labeled with all of these different things, and then they want to give you a drug to fix you. Nah, that's not going to work for me. So when they're like, oh no, you have alpha gal syndrome, well, do I? Or is it the meat that I'm eating has a bunch of bullshit in it that is reacting negatively with my body? Or did you just want to put a name on it? Like, I don't trust the doctors, which is probably why I'm not looking forward to going to the dentist later. Although, for those of you who were here yesterday, day before yesterday, and did the whole prayer thing for my daughter and myself, I appreciate you immensely. My daughter had her wisdom tooth out yesterday. I went with her. I sat with her when they put the needle in her gums to numb everything. They took blood first, because they do that PRP thing where they put the, I watched how they did the whole thing, like the separating of, so they take 2 vials of blood, and then they put it in this shaker thing that shakes it all up, and it separates the fatty part, maybe the clear or the yellow from the red, and then they take it out, and then there's this like little, it looks like cartilage fat kind of piece in between the clear stuff and the red stuff, and they take that out, and then in essence, from what I could gather, they put it, plasma, thank you, they put it back into the gum, which is supposed to help with the healing process much faster. So they went and did that, and I was there for the whole thing. My kid, you know, she's almost 16. She was nervous about the blood being drawn. I didn't tell her that part first. I was like, we'll just let that be a weird little surprise, because she's not a fan of needles like that. But she did great through the blood drawing. And then when it came time to do the needle in her gum, she was worried about that. I held her hand the whole time, and she, not a single tear, not a flinch, nothing. And so after they did it, you know, they put some on like the outside of her jaw and on the inside, or the gums or whatever. And when the doctor left, or the dentist left, I was like, how was it? Was it bad? She goes, honestly, it's fine. You'll be fine. And it's not that big a deal. And she said she'd come hold my hand today, because I'm such a chicken shit about stuff. But I'm like, listen, if my kid can do it, I can do it. Just because I had like a 20 some odd year stretch between dentist visits is why I'm terrified at this point, because I don't like mouth pain. That's like the worst thing in the world to me. If I bite my tongue or I burn my mouth, I absolutely hate it. I mean, I have all these, but I also drink when I do these. That way it numbs it a little. Can't drink heavily before you get your mouth done. That's a horrible idea, because then the anesthesia stuff won't work as well. But either way, for those of you who did the prayers and everything, I appreciate you immensely. My daughter came out perfectly. I hopefully will have the exact same whatever. That's that. Somebody said, do I read the comments? Yes, but I try not to read the comments while I'm going, because I get distracted as a mofo, and then I forget what I'm doing and things like that. So where are we now? Let's pull up over here. We were talking about alpha gal and the food and what they're doing to the food, and I don't trust the food, and I don't trust the doctors or the scientists or whatever else, especially since Pfizer made billions upon billions of dollars over the pandemic and whatever else. I don't trust it all, right? You know what I mean? So I'm just saying. Let me get to where I have some stuff saved, and we're just going to go through some whatever random bullshit I have saved over here on X, because it makes me happy to just talk about stuff. Oh, let's do this one, because this makes perfect sense to me. So normally when you see these videos of these people on the internet sitting in their car, running their mouths, I guess like me, but they're like bitching and moaning and complaining about stuff, which I guess I do the same thing, but in a less liberal form, I think, than a lot of other people do, maybe. But this guy he made this video. He looks like he might be 25. I don't know how old he is. He doesn't say in this, I don't think. But this is what he had to say, and I didn't listen to it. Again, I don't listen to things. I would rather read them while watching body language and stuff like that. I feel like when I listen to stuff, it persuades me to feel a certain way. I don't know if that makes sense. I like to give my own emotion to the words that I'm reading, which is why I like to read a book before I see a movie. When I'm on YouTube or TikTok or anywhere else, I never have the volume on. I like to read the transcripts, read the words, read the whatever else. That way I'm not swayed by somebody else's emotion in their voice, and I can read the words and then decide for myself what emotion I want to have to go with that, right? So this one here says, this is a younger American, so like I said, maybe like 25 based off the looks, but who the hell knows, because I've seen 14-year-old girls who look 25, and I'm like, ay. that's whatever. But this guy says, they tell us to stop eating out and rent is $2,000 a month. Oh, save for retirement, and yet you can barely save for next week. Go buy a house. Every house is $500,000. He says, I'm not asking for a handout, man. We're asking for a freaking fair shot at life. Our parents did not work harder than we work right now. They were simply just given a better chance. Their wages covered their lives, their bills, their hobbies, their passions. Our wages barely cover our freaking bills for the month, dude. No amount of budgeting can ever fix a system designed to keep us down. We're doing the best that we can, and yet it feels like the outcome has already been decided. I 50% agree with him. I 50% disagree with him, and let me explain why. Again, I am 43, and at 43, I am able to have the house I want to have the car I want to have, go out to eat, go on vacation, and things like that. But it's not because I've had anything handed to me. It's because I've worked my fucking ass off from the time I could legally, and even before then, have some sort of job and make money. I have always worked. I have always done what is needed to do. This guy saying, now hear me out, we've had these conversations before, but this guy saying that, you know, he can barely make it, he looks fully able-bodied to go out there and do more. I am not saying that people should have to do more in order to afford life. Life is very expensive right now. Life is ridiculously expensive. The pay with the cost do not go hand in hand. Maybe back in the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, whatever, even the 60s, your pay and your cost of things were more aligned, right? But we have become such a nation, country, world of haves that now if we don't have all the things, we think that we are not getting enough in life. If you go back to the 40s, 30s, and 20s, and 50s, and before then, or whatever else, even the 70s, most people were able to afford their hobbies because their hobby was, you know, working on their car or crocheting or maybe guitars or bikes or guns or whatever else, but they weren't taking the same amount of vacations. They were working harder. They were, I don't really know how to explain it, but I feel like the people that, the younger people that are making these videos are people who have either never had to struggle, like literally struggle for anything, or have never worked so incredibly hard for anything. And I could be wrong. Obviously, this is me based on, this is my thought based off watching this dude sit in his, well, it looks like a nice car from the inside, and talk about not being able to afford stuff. And I fully understand. Houses are $500,000 in this part of the city, but if you go over here, you can get one for $150,000. Your rent might be $2,000 a month here, but if you would, you know, go here, it'd be cheaper. It's one of those things where we want the most for the least. I myself am guilty of it numerous times, and so is everybody else. None of us are exempt from the wanting everything for nothing. We all want more for less, right? And the problem is that I think social media has given younger people like this and younger the thought that working 40 hours a week is, you know, awful and slave driving and whatever else. But if you look back in time, most people worked more than that. They worked at home also. They went home and took care of the house, the whatever else. This guy is paying rent. He's not even having to go, in theory, he could be in an apartment. He's not even having to cut his grass or take care of the exterior of where he lives or anything like that, right? So it's like you might be paying $2,000 a month, but look at what you're not having to do versus you go rent a house. Let's say you're in a house and you can get a house for $1,000 a month, but then you either need to pay more money to get all this other stuff done, or you have to be willing to go do it yourself. And that's the problem. I think a lot of people now aren't willing to do things for themselves, get their hands dirty, put blood, sweat, and tears, a little elbow grease into things. They want it easy. And I don't know if it's because they were raised pampered or because they weren't raised in a household that had any kind of struggle, and now that they're out on their own having to do things for themselves, they consider that hardship. It's a really weird thing, and I'm always going to sound like an asshole when I talk about this kind of stuff because everybody obviously falls into different categories, but it's hard for me to hear people in general in a young age, I'm not talking about over 60, that's a completely different topic in my personal opinion, but when I'm listening to 20-something-year-olds and younger bitch and moan because they have to work 5 days a week for 8 hours a day, and then, you know, everything is so expensive when they want to buy all their groceries at Whole Foods, or they want to go out to eat every single night, or they want to go to the Bahamas, they want to go here, they want to go do that, but they can't because they have to work. Like, welcome to being an adult, welcome to life. Like, it bothers me because I've always been of the mindset, if you want something, figure out a way to make it happen. Don't just fucking bitch about it, because what does that do? Then you have nothing and you're just, you know, giving yourself victim mentality. It's ridiculous to me. Again, I know that there are different situations for different people. When I was in my early 20s, was trying to outrun getting my car repossessed, okay? And running away from credit card debt and all these other things, because I did not take adult life seriously, and I fucked around and found out. Like, it's one of those things where you either have to step up or get run over. And people that sit here and complain about, oh, I have to work 40 hours a week, man, this isn't fair. You're gonna get run over and your life is gonna suck. Like, if you're not willing to suck it up, buttercup, just go ahead and cry every day. Because the second that I realized that I was messing my own life up by the way I was living, I turned everything around. I met my husband. He helped me turn everything around by telling me, I'm not here to hold your hand and babysit you. This is a partnership. We will do this together. And I was like, oh shit, that makes sense. Now, is it because I grew up in a single parent household? No, I had a mom who worked her ass off and did everything she could to keep a roof over our heads and mouth fed and all this other stuff, everything I wanted or needed. So that was great. But when I got out on my own, I didn't really know what to do with myself. So I messed up a lot as a late teenager, early 20s. And like I said, when my husband came into the picture, and he's 3.5 years younger than me and had his shit way more together than I did, I was like, oh, I want to be more like you. Like, I want to be able to do what you do, and, you know, pay my bills and not have a car almost repossessed and have good credit and all these other things. And so he said, well, the only way you can do it is to do it. And I was like, huh, well, that makes sense. So you work 3 jobs to pay off your bills. You work 3 jobs to make sure you can afford your car. You don't go out to eat. You don't go on vacation. You don't do these things until you get your shit under control. And then you have the ability to go out and go eat and go out and go on vacation and go out and do this. But again, I was young. I was in my 20s. It was a lot easier. Over a certain age, I understand 100% it's a lot harder, because you have government mandated insurance you have to have. You have a harder chance or harder time getting a job that's going to pay because of, you know, the ageism that's in a lot of workforces, and the fact that if you're like pushing 70 and 80, who the hell wants to work at that age? You have worked your whole life in theory, and it's time for you to get to finally enjoy it, right? So it's a lot different as you get older. I am still perfectly physically able. If I needed to go out right now and have 7 jobs, guess what I would do? Try to find a way to have 8. That way I could get through them much faster than relying on 7. Like, it's just, I think it's a mental thing that a lot of people unfortunately don't have in our younger society, and I can't figure out why. Because I feel like Charles needs to fuck off is what I feel like. Hide user on channel. Well, I feel like there are too many kids being raised incorrectly, but it doesn't make sense because their parents are like my age and older and should have a better work ethic. So why does it seem like so many 20-somethings and under have zero work ethic? You would think that their parents would have shown them what it takes to succeed in life and get where they are in life and stuff like that, unless it's just victim mentality is passed down and it continues on until somebody else comes through and snaps you out of it. I don't know. Sometimes it just takes a fresh set of eyes or a different voice to make you look at things a little bit differently, right? Single parent children are wild. I'm not wild. I've never been in trouble in my life. Not a single time have I ever been in trouble. I followed the rules. My mom told me if I snuck out of the house, by the time I got back, the locks would be changed. Guess what? I never did. Snuck out the house. She convinced me that if I ever tried drugs, that one time I tried it is the one time it would kill me. Guess what? I've never done drugs because my mom scared the shit out of me with it. So, I don't think single parent children are wild. I think single parent children who are raised by the wrong single parent might be wild, but I think kids with two parents can be just as wild, if not worse. So there's that. Anyway, y'all, it's time for me to go to my dentist appointment. Thank you for letting me have a run my mouth session with y'all. I appreciate it. It does help me just kind of weirdly unwind, even though I get a little worked up during these conversations, but I appreciate you immensely. We will have real conversation on other stuff tomorrow. It won't be later today because I won't be able to feel my face. So I had a very big breakfast because, you know, I'm a girl who likes to eat. So I had a big breakfast because this is going to hurt like Hades for the next day or so. Besides that, at about 2:30, 3 o'clock, if you could just send all the good vibes and juju my way, I would appreciate it. I love y'all immensely. Thank you so much. And I'll see ya when I see ya. Y'all have a good day. Bye. Adios.